When I started, we had 200 paid subscribers. When I left, we're in the top 1% of web hosting companies in the world. You can only go so far trying to beat your competitors at those moments of truth.
Tyler Jacobson, marketing director at 4B Marketing, grew a company from 200 users to the top 1% of hosting providers. He's helped B2B brands dominate search, use AI tools like Claude, and tell stories that actually connect. He's turned angry customers into loyal fans, and even helped a client outrank the US government on Google. In this episode, Tyler breaks down how he blends creativity with strategy and what it really takes to stand out in today's crowded market.
What is your take on AI, first of all? Secondly, what is the best use of AI that you're making at your agency at this point?
I think AI should be making us better. It should be improving us, but it shouldn't be replacing us. If you can tell Claude, go out there, get me some citations and help me make a persona, then it can get you a good 50, 60% of the way there.
How do you use storytelling without sounding like every other brand out there?
In order to be authentic, you actually have to be authentic, and that requires a little bit of vulnerability. Marketing is very much a research role, but if you only rely on that, then you're only stepping in footsteps that other people have already made. So all of that is to say, I think
E-Coffee with Experts.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Tyler Jacobson, who is the marketing director at 4B Marketing with us. Hey, Tyler, how's it going?
it's going very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Lovely. Tyler, before we move any forward, let's get to know more about you. Let's get to know the human behind the mic. Talk us through your journey a bit. How did you land up in the digital marketing space? And also about, your agency 4B Marketing. What do you guys do? What do you guys specialize in? And we'll take it off from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've honestly been doing some version of marketing ever since I was in high school. I made a
Yes.
logo and stickers for a band that didn't even exist, and I started seeing them on my friends' lockers and on their notebooks, and that was really my first step into understanding the power of communication and aspirational marketing and lifestyle marketing. And I thought it was really cool to do that. And so, as I got into bands and my friends were in bands,
Yeah.
I would help promote their shows and create flyers for them and market those shows. Ultimately, I found myself as a DJ and a promoter as a result of all of this, and helped create two award-winning nights that are still going. One's called Lip Gloss and the other one's called Mile High Soul Club. And I've won a lot of awards. I was also vice president of a web hosting company called Mac Highway. That company has since been acquired. But by the time I left, when I started, we had 200 paid subscribers. When I left, we were in the top 1% of web hosting companies in the world. And when it came time for me to figure out what I wanted to do next, I thought about what I loved the most about being a vice president of a web hosting company. And honestly, it was doing the marketing. We had to wear all the different hats in there, and
Yeah.
marketing was just sitting there the whole time, just waiting for me to pick it back up and make a living doing that. And so I've been at agencies ever since.
Lovely. Talk about wearing multiple hats, right?
Yes.
You've done it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Server administration was part of it. Customer success was part of it. Writing
Yeah.
documentation. Yeah.
And marketer, DJ, educator, entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and and whatnot, right? So lovely. And no wonder, you talk about the harmony of art and science and marketing, right? So
Mhm.
can you break down as to how that shows up in your actual campaigns or planning sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. So it mostly shows up, I would say, most prominently when we're doing brainstorms. And I don't think that you can understate the importance of research. Marketing is very much a research role, and I think that's where we're looking at the science piece of it. What have other people done in the past? What's worked? There's no reason for any companies to make the same mistakes that other companies have learned from. So we have to have the research in front of us and know what works for our audiences traditionally. But if you only rely on that, then you're only stepping in footsteps that other people have already made. You're never actually putting yourself into a leadership position. So I think that's where creativity has to come into any of these brainstorms. And that's where you get the art, is not only the big thrusts that creativity can bring by making you stand out in a market of competitors, but also the small iterations, of those things that have worked in the past. How are we going to change those a little bit to squeeze out some additional metrics, some additional gains? So yeah, it can't all be science and it can't all be art, but together that's how we get in a leadership position.
Absolutely. And, 2020 after 2022, but, with all this AI storm and everything, But 2025 is the year wherein it has actually, there has been a real shift in overall acceptance of AI tech and how many tools are we using and what all is coming up, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's like a moving year, I would say, in the AI and machine learning space. So, what is your take on AI, first of all? Secondly, what is the best use of AI that you're making at your agency at this point?
Yeah. So my broad view of AI is that I wouldn't trust an accountant who doesn't use a calculator, but I also wouldn't trust a calculator to do my accounting. So I think it's a really beneficial tool and it has to be used right to get the right outcomes. But if we become lazy and we allow AI to just do our jobs, that leaves a lot on the table, including our future security of being professionals. So I think AI should be making us better. It should be improving us, but it shouldn't be replacing us. And before I get into some of the tools that we're using, I can say that, one of the things I heard recently was that AI is just grabbing all of the information that it can, and it's trying to make decisions and interpret things based on that information. But that's not really always going to be a source of truth, because again, it's subjective, it's interpretation.
Right.
So relying on it too much, I think probably will shape how we communicate and how we interpret information in the future, just simply based on that. And I think having creative interpretations is going to be a thing that a rare skill. Let's say that. Yeah. So we've been using some interesting AI. There was one tool that we've been using called OneCliq, and that's OneCliq, and they had a tool that was able to mine sentiment from social media around any of the brands that you wanted to. So you could look up competitor brands, you could look up your own brands that you're working on, and you can see when they are mentioned on social media. And it didn't just stick with one platform, it was checking multiple platforms. What are people asking about? What are they saying? How do they feel about all of these things? And it can really help you set up your position or strengthen your position once you really understand how people are talking about it in a fairly unadulterated space. So that was one thing that I really liked. And then honestly, I mean, I found Claude to be a very strong tool for helping to define personas. If you can tell Claude, go out there, get me some citations and help me make a persona, then it can get you a good 50-60% of the way there.
Absolutely. We're talking about AI. What do you think of AI content? And I mean, obviously, it is not a final deliverable product. It needs some sort of, human editing or, supervision at the end of it. But what is your general take on AI content?
Again, I think it can be very good to help. I think it's been good for outlining ideas. It will go through the process of actually building out those outlines unless you tell it not to. And I don't find that part to be particularly helpful. But we know that what search wants, when we're talking about informational search, we know that search wants original perspectives. They want information that isn't already out there on the internet. And so that's one place where AI can let everybody down because it's just regurgitating information that already exists. So you really need to rely on your experts to be filling in those gaps and to really, writing to those outlines and delivering something that the world hasn't heard of before from an expert voice.
Absolutely. End of the day, content is so much about storytelling, passion, that emotional question to kind of connect with the target audience, right, of your brand to in order to kind of trigger that decision making to buy a product or a service, right? So it is so
Mhm.
much about kind of connecting with the target audience there. Talking about that, how do you, kind of use storytelling without sounding like every other brand out there, and then trying to authentically connect with your target audience?
Yeah, so I realized that we skipped over what 4B does. So 4B marketing does a lot of B2B marketing. We hang our hat on tech channel marketing, but really we're a very B2B centric organization and we are focused on business outcomes. So in that, because we deal with so many B2B clients, you see a lot of them wanting to not polarize and to deliver pretty much the same kinds of messaging that we're competent and we're inspirational. We can drive your business to new heights. But everybody is saying that, right? So that need for differentiation, that need for authenticity, it is very much a real one in the B2B world. The nice thing about authenticity is that it can't be faked. So in order to be authentic, you actually have to be authentic, and that requires a little bit of vulnerability. I can tell you In my agency, I owned my own agency for a little bit, and one of our clients there was PhotoBucket. And PhotoBucket's previous management had really pissed off their client base because they said, even to the freemium users, you've stored your photos with us forever, and now we're going to try, now you have to pay $300 or something like that to get access to them again. So it's kind of holding them hostage. That the people who were running that company, they got bought out, and so I was working for the new management, and we had to go and say sorry to their very upset fan base. And again, vulnerability, authenticity, sincerity. But within that, we found that story. We found that story about who PhotoBucket really is now, and how we are there to, make sure that they're preserving their memories and feeling security in them. So all of that is to say, I think once you start diving into why are you here? Why are you part of this business? Why does this business exist? I think that's when you start digging into that authenticity and finding the story around that.
Absolutely. Now, moving on, most marketers struggle to connect top funnel awareness to bottom funnel business results, right? So what is your framework for bridging that gap with your clients, Tyler?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we usually have clients come in one of two scenarios. One, they already have enough budget to do awareness marketing. In that situation, they already know that they need awareness marketing, and there's not too much of a needle to thread there. If they don't, they come in with enough budget and ambition to do consideration marketing. And that's where I start. I'm going to start there on that consideration marketing. We're going to try and find people at that moment of truth and sell them the whole idea right there and then. That has its limits. You can only go so far trying to beat your competitors at those moments of truth. You have to be doing the awareness marketing before it. So one way or another, you're going to arrive at a place where you say, we can't go any further without doing some awareness marketing. Your brand is important. People need to trust you, and they need to feel familiar with you so that when that moment of truth comes, they choose you. And so, so I started conversion, and I worked my way backwards when they don't have the budget to do it all.
Lovely, lovely. And during your tenure, you would have worked with a lot of clients. So if I were to ask you to give a favorite client story, what would that be?
Favorite client story. Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think about that. There have been some really cool campaigns that we've come up with. Not all of them have seen the light of day, and unfortunately, those most favorite ones are still sitting waiting to be executed. But I will say that yes, my favorite story is going to be one of my favorite clients, which is Team 80. They are a accounting firm. They started off as small business accounting, and they were doing okay, and we were able to help them with SEO. Their CEO at the time came in and said, we want to focus on SBIR accounting. And so SBIR grants are something that the US government gives out to innovators to help them fund their projects, and then the government can sometimes buy those from them or use those services. I said, I know you guys have a financial goal you're hoping to get to. Is niching down here going to help you meet that? Are you going to have enough audience for that? And they said yes. And sure enough, we have now made them one of the most visible companies in that space. And surprisingly, we outranked the federal government for some federal government terms, which is unheard of. So they trusted us, and we were able to take them to some really great places and meet their goals. And so, it's probably one of my favorites. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Great, Tyler. This has been a great session, but before we let you go, a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. Your last Google search.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. My last Google search was, what is this USB called? And I found out it's called a mini USB. So I needed to buy a mini USB. That was my last Google search.
Okay. Lovely. What did you do with the first paycheck, Tyler? First paycheck of your life?
Paid rent. I don't know. Probably not. There's no way I was trying to rent at that point. Boy, I almost certainly bought music with it. That's what I do with almost all my paychecks.
At that time, yeah. Lovely. Where do you find Tyler on Fridays after work or after office?
Well, funny enough, I DJ sometimes on a Friday. So right after work, I do a happy hour called Casual Friday. And so, so you can find me doing that.
Lovely, lovely. All right, we'll not grill you any further. You have been a sport, Tyler. Thank you so much for taking out time to do this with us. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for having me.